a misnomer. This is sort of a misnomer because this is not our house. And when you go and look on the online with all those stores or those TV shows that sort of come into people's homes and rip them all apart and start all over again, I don't know what they do with the products. They never talk about to the client, do you like this? Is this your favorite? Whatever, whatever. And when we're moving people, we start with the garage. So we clear the garage out. And when we come to the kitchen, then we make room in the garage for catering. So we build shelves and we build cabinets so that, the big wok or the Christmas china isn't in the kitchen. So when you look at a little tiny kitchen like this, it's too small for the holiday items. So Andrew, there's an extra little thing here. I don't know if you know what that means.
Oh. Just a disclaimer.
Okay. So it's, things have disappeared, but let's assume that they disappeared to the garage because we built shelving and cabinets and things to house the Christmas china, the catered platters and this and that and the other, because that is a tiny kitchen. So when I'm doing what I would consider move out, clean out, which would be like spring cleaning, we'll go through all of the bottles in the kitchen, in the refrigerator, because you all have that soy sauce or something. It all has labels. Even when you go into the pantry, all those boxes, and when you travel, all the open boxes have to be thrown away. When you're moving, you cannot take an open box with you, but they all have labels. Even rice, pasta, everything has labels. So you need to really, once a year, go through. And I always refer to earthquake food. I have enough to feed an army because I'm afraid of an earthquake. And I'm also a celiac, so it's really hard to feed me. So check the labels and make sure you replace them, because you're going to be taking care of yourself for a minimum of 7 days when we have an earthquake. So go through all those. You go through the bottles, the cans, all those things, and you'll be enormously surprised. It's very fun. For us. What's that?
Cathartic.
Oh, it is. Absolutely. I mean, I can actually feel better. The energy, I actually can feel the energy from when I first started a house and when I cleared it out. Then one of the other things you can't really see it here, but we can show another slide of the containers. So the one on the left is the undershelving for not only kitchens, but all the bathrooms and things. You can see the Container Store and all those other places have lots of different kinds of shelving that you can do. Then, of course, you want this kind of storage, and Bed Bath & Beyond and a lot of other places have these receptacles for your recycle. You also need to have, so if you have paper, recycle, and garbage, so you need a third. So make sure you have that. We spend a lot of time shelf papering, because if you spill soy sauce or olive oil, the cabinet has to be thrown away. And we buy
It's on the next slide.
is it? Oh yeah, okay. Yeah, there you go. Tap Plastic is a store we have in San Rafael, and they have this plastic sheeting that's really strong, and you can cut it and it'll last forever. So once you have a dirty cabinet, hello. If you have a dirty cabinet, you just pick it up, wash it, and put it down again. And then it saves and it preserves everything for a very, very long time, which is wonderful. The next thing would be containerizing. There are products that are all linked together, so they don't float around, because you can get dirt and debris in the middle of things. So you want to make sure you link them all together. And we at Changing Places have a philosophy that we do as little in plastic as we can. We use bamboo, metal, canvas, and wicker. If we have to use plastic, you know, it goes into the environment for the forever and ever. So we do our best to, you know, be as conscientious as we can. We containerize all the drawers, everything everywhere. If we're in a pantry, we're trying to put like together. If we're in a cabinets, we, for example, will do cans that have a little shelf that goes up like a tiered shelf so that you can see the cans, and you can, after you've looked through the labels to make sure what's old and what's not, put them back on these shelves and things. Does anybody have any burning question about kitchens?
No, but the next slide has that.
Oh, that's what you love.
That Lazy Susan,
Yeah.
which is kind of like that tiered rack that you were talking about.
Yeah. Well, not. No.
That one's the stair steppy one.
Yeah.
Got that.
But there's these racks, and then you can actually get racks that you can buy that are outside the cabinet that are upright, or they're upright. So you're looking at them this way, and they've got tiers on them, and you can actually mount them to the wall or mount them to a cabinet or put them outside. So you don't have to have wasting cabinet space or drawer space. But they take up a lot of space. And this is something that people need to spring clean, because spices are just like all the other food. You need to start all over again. Use them or lose them, get rid of them, because otherwise they're
lose their flavor.
Yeah.
Lose their
Yeah.
flavor.
well, once a year, everything should really be replaced, and that's okay. Let me see, is there anything else? Okay, well,
Is that, do you have one of those?
No, you have to navigate a small path.
can we go
through our
right back
garage
to the
floor.
kitchen just one quick time? Yeah, right there.
Oh,
So one of the handy things that I did as a tip was on the towel rack that's by the stove, I put Velcro, the spiky part of the strip of Velcro on the back side. So when you dip your towel, your cloth towel over it, it won't fall off on the ground. You know, sometimes they're all a mess. So
That's a
They-
great idea.
That's a great idea. Hey,
let's see.
If I don't leave with anything, that one right there.
Okay, well, and I also would say, besides that, because I have been wearing magnifying glasses for 45 years, but I'm sorry, since I was 45, I have decided that I buy 2 pairs of the same color, and I put each pair in a different room.
Yeah.
So I counted, I have 16 pairs of glasses. So I have 8 rooms that I put all my glasses in. And you think I'm cuckoo, but everything that I do is for efficiency, because I'm severely dyslexic, and all through school, the only way that I could be successful was to be smarter than everybody else. And there's a bunch of sayings about messy people that they waste up to 50% of their time looking for something in a stack of papers. And so for me, doing this helps you with abundance, prosperity, focus, and renewed sense of sort of joie de vivre, because you're finding everything and you're in control of your life. So 2 pairs of glasses, same color. In my pocketbook there, well, that's makes me about 22 pairs of glasses. So that, you know, horn rim is in the pocketbook, and then red is in the cabinets, and green is another place. So anyway, I hope that helps too. I had a little side note here. Step stools. If you're in a room and you're spring cleaning, you should not go to a different room to pick up a step stool. You should have it right there. So I have about 4 step stools. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I have 4 or 5 step stools, because you're wasting time just walking over there, and you're not going to get the stool out. You're not going to go to another room. You're just wasting time. So, and then for you, Heidi, you talked about loving the Lazy Susans. So when you have a corner shelf, you can put your spices that you just spring cleaned on a lazy Susan so you can have access to them. And then let's see, when you are with heavy trays in the kitchen, there are racks that you can slip onto a shelf and they'll hold up like that. And you can put heavy cookie sheets and things like that on it so they're not flat. It's when it's flat, it's pretty hard to get at. And then I think that's it for the kitchen. Let me go back up to the closet before we go to the, okay. Is anybody having?
Like
Okay.
everybody just goes,
All right, so,
tell them what you're doing with your closet right now.
well, I'm actually going to Europe for 2 months, so I'm actually trying on absolutely every piece of clothing that I own and clearing it out because of course I'll bring home more clothes, but I also just, it's time to clear out and start all over again. So I'm literally going through tennis clothes and gym clothes and shirts, and it's very cathartic. I love it. And it's taken me a while. I guess I don't really love it because it's taken me a really long
gonna
time to
say.
get started. But since my deadline is 2 weeks, so I'm just, I am trying on clothes.
Pressure.
Does anybody have a messy closet they came for this to talk about? No.
An empty
I
closet?
need to build a second one.
Yes, you do,
Yes.
Jen.
Okay, so when you downsize and you see that a lot of these, the one on the left is color coordinated. I am definitely color coordinated. So the only thing outside of the, like I start with the black and then a brown and then the blue, and then I go down and I end up with the red and then the pink and all the way through. And when I get to short sleeves or sleeveless, I take them out and put them in a different pile so that they're not all mixed up together. So it's not just all black or white or whatever. I actually use them, put them separately.
Those are hard to see when they're in.
They're
Like
so,
that.
yeah, they're so thin that they sort of disappear.
Mhm.
But one of the things that is not on the paperwork that we brought is that there are 4 clip hangers, which I adore. So if you've got, one thing we can talk about is, what does the closet look like? Is it just a rod, which is horrifying? Or is it a closet with shelving? So you can have a double rack shelf, then shelving in the middle, and then long hang, and then maybe a bar on the top. So you can adapt it. So there are things like, let's see, Andrew, if there's a, there's no cat there. Those hanging canvas containers can hold sweaters, they can hold shoes, they can hold pocketbooks. The inserts are not with it. You have to buy them yourself. The shoe racks on the outside door are really important. And if you go back to the kitchen, if you have any kitchen doors, you can put cabinet holders on the backs of all the doors. So there's a metal rack that I buy, which I don't think there's a picture of. You can buy it at the home consignment shop, the container store. And there are racks that are held by a metal strip on the door, and you can put any size basket on it. So my pantry used to be the whole closet, and now it's got pantry and it's got little shelving units on the outside of the door, so on the inside of the door. And I have all of my vinegars and backup supplies. So same with the master bedroom. You want to make sure you've got as much space as you can. So if you're using the 4 rack clips, and you have, for example, it depends on how you want to put all long clothes together, all short clothes together, or you want to do a double rack of short clothes. So you can buy something that's got a hook and a long rope, and that has a bar at the bottom. So you can actually put 2 short hang together. Does that make sense? Am I
Yeah.
explaining it? You
like-
do?
I love
Okay.
those.
So you can adapt to it. I
think Container Store is where I got mine.
Container Store, Best Buy, Walgreens, well, I mean, what's the name? Walmart. Everybody assumes that they have something or other. Let's see what else we have. So, yeah. Hangers.
That's
Yeah,
one of
that's-
them right there.
Right.
Mhm. That's right. That's a second rack.
That's cool.
No. Those containers take up a lot of space. So whether you're using them or not, I would only use containers like that for the top shelf that you can't get to, and it's the backup. So we haven't talked about summer and winter clothes. So I have 3 closets in my house that are full of clothes. So one of the closets is designated for my coats and for the seasonal summer or winter clothing. So in fact, I just did the mothball deal with the cedar so that my closet, my clothes, my wool things are cleaned, and I'm putting them away so that they won't be eaten by the time I get back. In the closets, I think there might be one more picture. Nope. In your bureaus, there are adaptable they have a sort of a hinge on them, and you can put it in your bureau. You can put underwear, socks, and things, and it expands, and you can separate them. And if you do the Marie Kondo, roll it, you can get so much more into it. When I pack a suitcase, it's always too heavy because I can fit so much into it because I roll everything. So, but if you roll your lingerie, it's amazing how much easier it is to find things. So she's brilliant. Let's see, hanging on the back of doors, roll and fold, canvas bags, double ring hangers. Is there any question anybody has about master closet? We're not,
Margaret, what's the best way to deal with shoes? Too many shoes.
I converted a linen closet into a shoe bureau with a shoe closet with a rack on the outside of the door. And then my staff convinced me that I should really have those little plastic containers for my shoes. It's never worked right. Never. Putting shoes in plastic containers, unless they're sort of Louis Vuitton kind of things, are not really worth it. So that's a very hard subject for, as you can see in that picture that we had, the crazy messed up picture, that person, yeah. So she had the shoe boxes, she had a lot of shoes, and she took top priority. But the thing that they don't show you is where are the sweaters? There's a lot of things missing. So, and I certainly, on this one, I wouldn't mix my sheets and my pillows and things unless you absolutely had to in a closet. And when you're selling a house, you want all that to be gone because you want everybody to know that there's enough space.
There's plenty of room and that you don't have to put your pillows in with your shoes.
Right. And you shouldn't have the bottoms of any shoes showing because it's bad feng shui. They could go higher. They did a lot of plastic. It doesn't say where all the pants are, where the dresses are. This person can't just have tops.
Tops and shoes.
Well, they could, but it would be a very Zoom world.
But thanks to Heidi, we have pictures at all. She's an absolute genius. So every person is individual, and what you don't get from a conversation like this is sitting with somebody and saying, how do you live? What's important to you? I mean,
My boots would take top priority. over
okay,
my
so
heel.
yeah, so boots have to be on the bottom. They can't be on any top shelf. And some people have, you've got fancy clothes and designer clothes, and it's really personal. So you have to sit down and have a great conversation with someone. Now there are a gazillion organizers out there that are between $85 and $125 an hour that you can hire. So once you get started and you have sort of an idea what you want to do, hire somebody and get them to get you motivated, because it's really helpful to have, if you have a friend, they might say vacillate between what you should keep and not keep. You need somebody that you can trust their taste so that you can move forward and not get stymied.
There's nothing more motivating than paying someone by the hour.
Yeah, right. And
Speaking personally,
I have read sort of burgundy hangers, and if I run out of hangers, then I have too many clothes. And I literally, I ran out of hangers, and I have that's where I'm starting to do this sorting and getting rid of stuff. I would like to say that 20% of what we own, we should keep. And it's noted and reported that 80% you could throw away and you wouldn't even miss them. And when we come into a house, we start in the attic and the garage, because those are the things that the people haven't seen for a really long time. It gets them rolling. They get the idea, the giveaway, throw away, keep. And then I have a subject called read later. So if it's a little old lady and she goes, oh, and you go into this memory thing, I say, wait a minute here, pick it up, put it in this this pile, and you'll read it later so that we can keep moving. Memory lane sometimes takes a really long time to get people to move forward. But so let's see, let's move on to the garage. And I have specialists who love garages. Now, I happen to love garages too. I think it is the most important room in your house if it's laid out properly. Now, we come in and there's probably 20 or 30 options. Really cool. I think the next picture is, yeah. So those containers on the left are waterproof. So you can put them in the attic, because waterproof means smell proof. So you can put them in the attic, you can put them in the basement, you can put them in the garage. They're a bit expensive, but they actually certainly make a lot of sense, because you don't want to put something away and then have to clean it. Lord Almighty.
Lifetime.
Yeah.
A lifetime
So
choice there.
these are really cool cabinets. And then let's see, are there any more? Yeah, there's flooring. There's containerizing. There's melamine cabinets, which I adore. We usually put, because in the garage, you might have the catering, which I talked about. You might have Christmas. You might have an attic where you're going to put things. We look and see whatever spaces you can use. And so you have to have the shelving and the containerizing so that it doesn't get all dusty.
I have a question.
Yeah.
So does your company or do companies do just the garage? Like, can you just hire for just the garage?
Yeah.
And do you pull, like, if somebody just hires you to do the garage, do you pull everything out and look at it and then start to, like, do you empty it and then start back in? Mostly we would probably empty it, because if it's a really messy garage, number one, you want it cleaned. And if you're putting the house on the market or you want to have it upgrade, you want to paint it. A lot of the time we will spray paint the floors, or we'll bring in like Garage Solutions, which are awesome company. They'll spray paint the floor. They'll put in wonderful cabinets. They'll put in all the hooks and everything you could possibly imagine. And it really tricks it out. And if you're trying to make more money by selling your house to make it look fabulous, that's a really good thing to do. And if you don't have a lot of money, but you need places to put the stuff that's inside your house that you want to get rid of, or you don't want to get rid of, I'm sorry, and you don't have an attic or a garage, you need to have wonderful shelving. Now there's Gorilla shelving, which is this
particle board, big, heavy shelving kind of stuff. There's wire tech that we used to get at
That wire.
Costco.
is Why I put that one up there
Uh-huh.
on there,
Yeah.
because I didn't think of that. That's like baker shelves. Or
Well,
cooking shelves.
I call them wire tech. Yeah, and they come in all different sizes. And when we're undoing a house, we actually put the shelves. You can fix the size. So if it's a 1.5 box or a 3-point box or when you're doing the gorilla shelving, it's kind of fixed shelves. So if you have the dish packs or the really big boxes, you want them up there. So you have to decide which shelving fits you best so that you best and your budget. So yeah, let's see.
I also was surprised at those the wire baskets. Those were, that you can move them is really helpful. Once you stuff them full of stuff, it has wheels on it, so it's not, if you had to move it.
Well, for that's low. So there are shelving kinds of things that you can have a rack on the wall and has hooks, and it has the hook with a basket. So the kids can put tennis rackets here, and then soccer balls here, and then basketballs here, and then baseballs here, and like that. So you can adapt to anything you could possibly want. And let me see. I'm kind of out. Am I ahead of my time?
You know what?
I'm
I don't
good.
know how to tell
Okay.
you, whatever you
You're
Okay.
doing just fine.
Okay. I don't know. I want to make sure have time for questions. So waterproof bins, wire tech, gorilla. Okay. So clothing. A lot of people put their clothes in canvas bags in the garage or in the attic or in the basement, and they are destroyed by mold or mildew or whatever. So you really kind of have to make up your mind if you're going to put it in a sealed container, because they are not going to survive and last in a rack that's not covered, or, it's covered, but it's all dusty. So you have to really consider how treasured you like your things. And so,
Do you guys use a lot of I know you said you try and stay away from plastics, but do you use a lot of those for sweaters and bulky stuff, big stuff? Do you use the vacuum bag? Do you vacuum out the air? And
my experience with the vacuum bags, which was a real sad story, was we bought a whole bunch of them, and they didn't stay
they didn't stay
sucked in.
airtight?
No, they didn't. So
Oh.
maybe they have improved them, but that was really disappointing, because once the air comes out of them, they're just big plastic bags. But
And I guess it's worth spending money on the good, expensive, waterproof, because then the smell can't get in. And if you don't feel like spending that much money on the container, what you're going to put into it probably isn't worth that much.
right.
So maybe you don't need it anymore.
I just sent somebody to Germany, and she had probably 30 boxes in her garage full of fabric. And then she had probably another 50 boxes of art and all kinds of other supplies and things. And she literally took it all. And I said, well, good luck to you, because it all smelled horrible. And I couldn't convince her that she couldn't afford the cleaning bill. So anyway, it all went to Germany. And she's doing it. She's doing it.
By the pound.
Yeah. So let me see. Does anyone have any questions?
Are there any other rooms that you guys have questions about?
Do you have any questions about moving
there's
yourself?
more
You
rooms.
gave me an idea while you were talking. You said there's a hall closet off the side of your kitchen.
When I
Can you
walk
use
into
that
my
as a
house, there's a hall closet that is supposed to be a coat closet, and I turned it into a
I
pantry.
think I'll do that too, because I have like an empty hall closet right off of the kitchen. And
It's begging you.
it's just like perfect pantry
It's begging
material
you.
right
Whoever
there.
has an empty closet, you are
I
so
know,
I'm just
right?
like,
blessed.
I know, right? 1 in a million.
Well, we can talk about other rooms, because we finished with our 3 that we picked. I'm a fast talker. are there any other things that any of you would like to talk about? Offices for pets,
Big question for
laundry
you.
room, okay.
So I know that oftentimes right now, especially at the stage that most of us are in our lives, we're also dealing with inheriting a house full of stuff. And goodness gracious, that's a huge undertaking, especially when it's not your stuff. And then there's the whole memory lane attached to it as well. What are your best suggestions for how to tackle that problem or project? Because I know that it's something that many of my friends, myself, and the people in this group here today are facing.
It depends on how big the job is. It depends on if they're family members. Depends on who wants what.
Mhm.
First of all, you have to sort out what's valuable and how you're going to disperse with it. We have 3 different ways to have family auctions. So I think we did a gigantic house a while ago, and there were 2 heirs and 17 grandchildren. And they all wanted a piece of it, but luckily nobody cried, nobody complained. And it took 3 months and probably 15 of our organizers the whole time to go through. So we sorted it all, got rid of the stuff that might have been damaged or smelly or whatever. We stacked everything up and grouped them. Silver here, we got jewelry, we had reel-to-reel slides, we had photographs, we had all these kinds of things. And we actually did a CD for every single member of the family so that they all had pictures. Nobody complained that they didn't walk away with the family heirlooms of the photography. So there's a company over in Berkeley called A1 Photo, and they put them all on a disc for each family member. So, so if you collect all the photos and you put them in half boxes and you let the family decide who wants it, you kind of come in with not an opinion, but you're looking at everything. You're sorting it into categories. Might be videos or pictures, art separate. It could be children's toys. It could be books. It could be whatever. And if it's, there are people like, there are a couple of people that we know that will come in and do appraisals. And that is highly recommended because we had a cup that was very, very expensive and nobody noticed that it was, the auctioneers came through and nobody noticed this cup, and it ended up on the internet probably 2 weeks after it was taken to an auction house. And my client, he wasn't upset. He just said, the house is so massive, it's one thing. But so if you go through and you put all the clothes together, because lots of the kids, every generation wants to go through clothes. There are people that will do costume jewelry, antique cars, things in the garage. I did a huge estate many years ago, and oh my goodness, I threw away this moldy sleeping bag. And that belonged to one of the sons who at age 6 was using it. And you just never know what is going to be somebody's treasure and what isn't.
You're like, oh,
So,
shoot.
it's if you can get yourself really organized. And I know, Jen, you have your mom's place. I guess that's what you're mentioning too. It's helpful to sort of set it up like this methodically. What's good, you decide what you want, and then we had this family auction, so we allowed everybody $40,000 worth of funny money, and they could spend it on these things. They could buy a $12,000 armoire that we had appraised, and so if they wanted it, they could have it, and that funny money went towards the whole entire estate. So
that's a great idea and a great way to avoid the bickering. And I think that sorting it into categories like it's a department store sounds like a great way to get started. And then, I mean, we did it with my grandparents' house, but it was like, okay, here's all the china, who wants this or who wants that? And we're still 25 years later, we're still bickering over a soup tureen. It's ridiculous, but you kind of go through it and you go, well, gosh, if the funny money thing, monopoly money is a great idea because and everybody has the ability then to put their value on something and put their priorities in check with how it's getting split up. I think that's a phenomenal idea.
I could also say that you don't want to use those little colored dots. They'll take the varnish off of your items. So we use this tape that we get from Discount School Supplies, and each one of the colors, like red will come off, we'll pull the varnish off in 3 days. But then we have teal and very light green and purple, and they won't pull the varnish off for 30 days or 60 days. So you have to be really careful. So we go around and we designate whether it's garbage red or orange is donate. And then we'll have junk, and we have black trash bags for the garbage and clear trash bags for the clothes, because if you mix them up, they all go to the garbage and then you're in big trouble.
Yeah.
So I remember I did Bob Weir at the Grateful Dead, and we had his brand new baby clothes were put right next to the Goodwill, and they went out the door. This was 20 years ago. And, sometimes you learn from your mistakes, but, insurance covered it, but it didn't bring back the pretty little clothes that went to Goodwill. So
Somebody's wearing it.
some baby got, a lot of wonderful things.
Somebody's wearing it.
Let's see. So that was a very good question. Did I answer as much as you thought would be helpful, Jen?
No, I think that gives a great framework. And then if somebody wanted to contact you later and say, gosh, I'm here, do you have somebody who can help me get that organized? Knowing that you have these different ideas that could all work, and you could do it yourself, or you could hire someone like you to be able to facilitate that. And I think maybe it's a great idea, especially if there's multiple family members, to hire someone just to have that neutral third party who's collecting the monopoly money, and it doesn't become a monkey scene.
Yeah. So you'll have to back it up with ways to sell things like, brown furniture isn't cherished anymore. You were talking about your family's armoires and things like that. And they're not cherished anymore, but they might be coming back, but that's going to be for a while. But have auctioneers, appraisers, ways of disposing of things so they don't go in landfill. That's a really big thing. There's a new company, Marin Homes, that's in the place near IKEA, and they're taking all of the charity stuff and donating it to the homeless. So that's a new facility that's just been opened about a year.
Yeah, Home Again. It's in the old Sears building at Northgate.
Right, and
we can send the link out if anybody needs that.
Yeah. So that they'll take things and.
I thought RH is in the old Sears building.
It's their repair center.
The what?
It's it's
It's
restoration.
in the old Sears Repair Center.
Oh, and then they sell that stuff. They do.
I knew someone who worked there though.
Well, they just sold things to make money because they're starving, but they sold things, and as it turns out, then they ended up with not enough products. And I went in to try and find something for a really poor homeless person that I know, and there was no bureaus or beds, so they'd given away all the stuff. They sold all the stuff they needed the money for. So catch-22. Does anybody have any questions about laundry? We've got attic, we've got basement, we've got more closets, we have pets, we have offices. And
I have a question. So for the pantry, I've gone back and forth on this for years and years and years. And I came from a commercial cooking background. So I've gone back and forth for years of taking things out of the boxes and bins that they come in and putting it into containers that are all labeled, that all fit on the right size shelf, versus leaving the Cheerios in the Cheerio box. What is the solution? I've never come up. I now have a hodgepodge of half and half. But what's really the best solution? Is transferring it all to different containers or keeping it in its original container?
Well, that's a personal, I mean, if you want to do the home edit, I don't, to me, it doesn't make any sense to take it out of a Cheerios box and put it into a container. That's, to me, that is absolutely ludicrous. Number one, you're losing the date on the item.
Mhm.
And it's, you're buying all those plastic containers that are not environmentally correct. So if you have a big family, you've got a lot of turnover, it's not possible. But there are things that can go, so food wise, I don't think that's a really good idea. But on the other hand, if you've got things like nails and hammers and plugs and that, all those kinds of things that are in the garage, you should have containers for them. If you're in the bathroom and you've got backup supplies and, you know, little baby Kleenexes and things, you want to containerize them because you want to, I probably should have said this first. You should have everything, like all videos together, all Kleenex together, all tissue paper together, all pencil together, all you. And if you're having an office, like I have 2 offices, and then I also have a little section in my kitchen where I have the same office supplies. So I'm not running around looking for anything. It's all containerized, and it all, like, there's always a paper, there's pencils, there's Scotch tape, and there's stamps and envelopes. They're all in the same place. So my head, if I'm saying this about one area, like an office, my mind works that way throughout the whole house. And just tell you one thing, I have this darling client that we've moved them. She became a real estate investor. She was buying and selling houses. She bought apartments and all these kinds of things. And we've moved them 9 times. Not necessarily. She had 3 separate homes that she moved into that we moved once, moved them. But then she bought other houses, and then she bought a house in the desert and she used it as a rental and stuff like that. And she has a little girl that was 8 when we met her. She's now in college, and she sent a floor plan of her dorm room to us. And I want to tell you, it just makes me want to cry. I changed that kid's life. I taught her how to be prosperous, how to function properly, how to organize her life so that she could be in control. And I think that's probably one of the greatest achievements that I choose to think about, because all of us parents need to be organized so that we are teaching our children to stay organized as well. And I think, as you get older, if things are out of place and you can't find them, moving is the hardest thing. When we leave a house, we take a person on the tour and we say, okay, this is your first office, this is your second office, this is where your shoes are, this is where your closets are, because it's so overwhelming moving somebody that literally you're in a box, and then you travel, and it might be a month before you see this stuff, and then it's all unpacked at some other place, and there's no shelving and there's no storage areas, and you're like, oh my God. And you need to actually, before you put them in a box, you need to decide what you want to keep, what you want to take, what you want to store, what will stay in storage, stay in boxes, what you want to sell, donate, give away, before you pack anything. And that's the same with spring cleaning. You just want to do it a little less vigorously. Do you have any questions?
Could you talk about storage units? When I live in a very small condo.
Okay.
Okay, and I'm paying money that I'm now seeing is wasted for storage place. And I haven't been in that place for a year, maybe.
Storage. Okay. I love talking about storage because I have a client who has had things in storage for 4 years. It's cost $12,000. He asked me to sell the items in there. And when I talked to Bonham about it, the stuff wasn't of enough value so that he should have thrown it away. things were chipped and this and that and the other. And so he should have thrown it away. And I was like, oh my God, Peter, you've got to get rid of this stuff. So you need to make sure you really love it and that you're, first of all, you can downsize to put shelving in a storage unit so that you're not having stuff on the floor, but you can, even if it's a 5x8, you can put a 3-foot shelf in there and go up high. You can categorize and alphabetize, and you can actually, like, we all have to keep our tax records and things. That might be something that's in there. You have to have it, but you don't have to have grandma's china because you should use it or lose it. Like, I don't have any stainless steel anymore. All my parents' silverware, I use it every day. It's wonderful. I use the china I like and I got rid of the rest. So that's like when I said we started in a job where we do the attic, the basement with the garage, we would start with storage. Because you might have old Oriental rugs that you could switch out. You could redesign your house for some fun. So you either want to get rid of it or downsize it, but you want to house it with better shelving so that you can maximize the space. Just how about,
Thank you.
do you have anything else in there that you?
I think I need to really consider emptying it and saving the $300 a month that I'm paying. I mean, that's $3,600 a year.
3 times 2, $3,600.
Times many years.
Yeah, yeah.
And if you get to the end of one more $3,600 turn and you go in there and you see that you are going to throw everything away, you're going to be kicking yourself in the booty.
Yeah.
I mean, save yourself the angst. Right?
Yeah. So people have so much in storage. I think it's really hard sometimes to face the memories and they don't want to cope with that, but grab a friend and go in and do it. I mean, it's actually cathartic. I think garages are cathartic. I think turning something really messy into what could be a ping pong room, or, I mean, there's always fun ways to approach a situation. And I mean, I love what I do. I love helping people, and I think it's makes a big difference.
It does make a big difference.
So how about you? Have any questions about packing, sorting?
Just gonna take it one box at a time. But going back to Jennifer's question about inheriting your parents and grandparents and ancestors' belongings, I'm in this position of being a steward of all this big, heavy brown furniture that none of my children want. And so I feel like, okay, when I die, I know they don't want it. So then why don't I just get rid of it right now?
Unless you're using it, right?
Because I like it, but I don't, it's become burdensome, I feel.
Well, you're moving
Mhm.
and you have to decide whether or not the cost of moving it across the country is worth
Brought
it.
it to me.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, then I have siblings who say, well, you gotta keep mom's bedrooms.
No,
Like,
you keep
well,
it.
I have been keeping it.
Well, you can say I'll ship it to you and and it'll cost so and so, because you'll come and get the mover will tell you what it'll cost to go to their home. Because
Well, they're in France and Mexico, so they,
Yeah,
it's like not even here, so.
well, then the movers can take it and put it in storage and keep it in storage until they call for it. And then the movers can take it to Mexico or wherever. You do not have to be responsible.
Right. So after so many generations, I just feel like maybe it's gonna stop here.
Because
Maybe this is where it's
because there may be, I always say there's so many people that could use any one of the things that we have. And why keep it in storage? Give it to somebody or sell it to somebody, or, I mean, look at all the Ukrainians, none of them have anything. They would probably adore that sort of thing because it's old world, it sounds like.
Well, it is.
Yeah.
And so I'm still using that, but when my husband passed away, he had all these beautiful English antiques, big, huge, heavy stuff. and none of his children wanted any of it. My stepdaughter, so they just said, no, I'll take this sweater, or I love Dad's hat.
Yeah,
And so they took sentimental things, but they didn't want the heavy furniture. And then I couldn't give it away. I couldn't sell it to an antique dealer. I couldn't, nobody wanted it. And so I gave it to Habitat for Humanity.
yeah,
And they wanted it.
Yeah.
And now it went there. So now I'm just thinking now, but then I inherited all this other stuff. It's just like antiques up the wazoo, you know?
You're the
Oh my
conduit to send it on
gosh.
to its next job.
well, Habitat for Humanity is Restore, and that's the store that they own over in
It's in
East Bay.
Santa Rosa.
Well, they might have a new one here too,
Do
but
they pick up things?
no, you have to spend the money to have it delivered, but there are a lot of inexpensive delivery people that will do things. And you can send pictures to people like the home consignment. And if they turn you down, then you go to the next level down and the next level down. So, but I can guarantee you that none of that needs to go into landfill,
Yeah.
because
I wonder if you
Salvation
can
Army is not
pass
taking
it
any of
on.
that. But there are lots of people, there are lots of people that will take it and enjoy it.
Mhm.
So,
True.
do you have any more questions? How about you, Andrew? Where are you?
I lost Sandra.
Oh, okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much. Actually, my
Thank you.
head is right now just kind of like thinking, ideas of what I,
Clean up,
like what I
know.
want to do in my house. I live in a very small studio. And when I moved back from Arizona to Marin, I pared all my stuff down to one suitcase and one box.
Wow.
And it's rapidly grown, it's frightening how it just does it on its own with the back turned. So I mean, even a studio with only 2 closets is still just busting at the seams. And I have not put anything in storage or anything like that, but I can, like, after looking at these and listening to you, I can get rid of a lot more again. There's stuff sitting around my one room and I'm not using it. So
Thank you so much for such an
One more question.
information-packed talk.
Do you have one?
How much do you charge to hypnotize and brainwash my husband? My hoarder. Just very close to the limit, the edge of being considered a hoarder, and he just doesn't throw anything away, and he doesn't organize anything, and I have to live in the middle of it.
The key to some of that is that we hire men who bond.
Ah.
We have a very fancy client and he really didn't like women. So we hired these really cute muscle men who are very intelligent, college grads and stuff. And they bond, and then they know how to kind of push the client. So he'll be on his own world. You'll have nothing to say about it, have nothing to do with it. And you just get the right containers and things. And we come along, we'll come and look at the stuff, and then we'll go to the container store and we'll bring all these products and we'll decide which ones you want and how you're going to use them. And your husband has nothing to do with you. It's not included in you. He just has to pay the bill. And it ends up being cathartic. He might like baseball hats. Okay, you can have them all. Put them in this box and put them up in that shelf, that gorilla shelf you just bought, and store them right there with the name on it. And then you still have it. And it's wonderful.
Mm-hmm.
Need a
Maybe.
guy.
We'll go 50-50 on that bill.
Yeah.
Oh, I'll pay the whole thing.
Yeah. Try. That's a great idea.
Yeah, it's a good.
So
that's
when
good.
we have little old ladies and they're really not moving around, we'll hire a younger little old lady to sit with them and talk with them and let them have stories and let them feel treasured and listened to. And while we're running around doing what we need to do, because time is money, and we don't want them wasting their money on, this person who can't make decisions. So
Really?
yeah, and everybody's happy. That's the important thing. not taking
Well, and the
advantage.
job gets done.
Yeah, because sometimes there's a time limit and it's happening with such a whirl. It's really hard to push people because they don't understand the process and they don't understand where the stuff is going. And then they say they want it to go and then they change their mind and it's on a truck and oh my goodness. And you have to be really careful because you can damage people forever by not respecting their things, like the sleeping bag.
Dang it.
Thank you, Jen.
So much. You are always a wealth of information and always bring clarity back to my world of like, okay, here's a new plan. This is what I need to work on next. And here's some great tips on how to get it done. You've always been amazing with all of our clients who we suggest you to, and we just appreciate you sharing your time and your knowledge with us today. And thank you so much.
Well, thank you for having me. Have a great day.
Thank
Okay.
you.
All right, bye.
Bye.